You're listening to the Smart Women in Business podcast, episode number 61.
Hello, you're listening to the Smart Women in Business podcast. My name is Jo Mackay, and on this show, we talk to smart women in business all over the world about starting, building, and creating the business and life of your dreams while having incredibly honest, in-depth, and rich conversations with amazing women in business who will inspire you to become a smart woman in business. Hello and welcome to the Smart Women in Business vlog and podcast. I'm your host, Jo Mackay from Jo Mackay Communications, marketing consultant and coach who works with people across the world to build the business of their dreams. Today, I am talking to my online friend, jewellery designer Anu Sawhney from Bidiliia Jewellery. Anu is a designer who's on a mission to change how people feel one design at a time. After spending far too many years working for big brands, including Kenneth Cole, Banana Republic, Gap, and Leona Edmiston, she threw it all away for creating with kindness. A mad music lover and quirky, kind individual, Anu brings her brightness and sparkle to life through her jewellery. She believes wholeheartedly that happy people create happy things. Anu is a mum to two small humans, random small humans, lives in Sydney and is originally from India. Welcome, Anu.
Hello. That was a very glorious introduction.
I like just riffed on Anu then.
Yeah. So I'm just sitting on a cloud now.
Yeah, you're just happy. You're just gonna ego. No, I love it. And it's so weird when people read back your bio and you're like, oh, righto. I don't know if I'm comfortable to embody that yet, but you already are. Fun fact. So true. I love your business. I'm wearing one of your rings. Tell me about your business journey and how you got to where you are right now.
I've studied design and apparel and accessories, and that's kind of what I've done for so many people. And the stickler always used to be arguments on pricing. And it used to really get to me because I've been a part of the other end, and I know that reducing 50 cents or getting someone to reduce 50 cents on making something doesn't seem like much when you're sitting here. But at the other end, it means massive profitability shift. It means that they won't be able to pay their staff overtime. And so we don't often understand that. And we often don't want to understand that, really. And so that was the commonality. And it used to irk me that we can't just give manufacturers their due. And instead we argue, but our profitability was always like 700% or more. And so I kind of had it. It used to give me headaches. It got me sick to the point of being sick. Like my iron levels were down to a 4, which is worse than when you've had massive surgery. And so it was getting to me physically. So I kind of just stopped for a little bit. And then I had my daughter and I got sick. And I have rheumatoid arthritis. So I had one knee that was affected really badly before I had my daughter. But after I had her, my hips came crushing in. Oh. So 14 months in, I was in surgery, back-to-back surgery. So I had a bilateral hip replacement. And then 3 months after that, I had a knee replacement to get everything to work properly.
Which is super easy when you've had a baby.
Yeah, it's very easy. It's just a walk in the park. But while I didn't have all the things that new mums usually do, like go to the park with their kids and things like that, I had a lot of time to rethink how I do things and why I do them and how I want to do them in the future. And I think the whole medical lapse experience just fast-tracked everything for me, because I was like, okay, like no more nonsense. Like this, if things need to be better, they need to work better, we can do better. Like everybody can do better. And while I can't go and change a big organization, I can try and do something that is different,
Mm.
that does things differently, be open about it. Even now, as small businesses go, a lot of us don't talk about where we manufacture things or where we source our materials from. And so it's very and so it's very, even now, like even if we do like made in Australia, but yeah, where are you getting your raw materials from?
Yeah,
Like
it's
you
very
are
opaque.
directly importing them from somewhere that you are not disclosing, and you don't know the source of that. So it's a big hoax, really. And so for me, that became really important to share where things are made, how they're made, who's making them, all of that. I'm yet to get any of the people that I work with on camera, because every time I say, hey, would you do a small video for me, they're like, no, we just haven't making up. So I was like, yeah, okay, we'll get to it one day. And so it just became really important for me to work on that, on those ethics, and then figure out what I wanted to do with it, really. And since I I've been educated in design, it kind of fell straight in. And I used my rehab days to come up with, very strangely, a jewelry brand and a footwear brand. And
I haven't heard about the footwear brand.
And so the footwear was, and I live in Sydney City, right? Space is like thousands of dollars per square meter. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to get thrown out of my own place if I start a footwear brand. So that kind of like fizzled really quickly. I still have the drawing somewhere. And so Bidiliia was either going to be a footwear brand or a jewelry brand. And so I did what fit in where I live. Really?
What you could hold stock of in your apartment.
Exactly. And so that's kind of where and how I started, really. It was just wanting to do things better, and not argue with the people that make for me, really. Like every time they're like, well, every 6 months they go, oh, we're going to increase the prices a little bit. I was like, yeah, that's fine. Like,
okay.
I know there's inflation. It's not just me.
We're all sitting here on the CPI index. It's funny because I'm like one of those people that goes overseas and doesn't barter. I'm like, yeah, cool. And they're like, Angus is like, you meant to barter. And I'm like, no, like seriously, I'm in Thailand. Like 200 baht is not much to me.
Yeah.
Or like it goes against your core values.
Yeah.
And that's what I talk about all the time, is having values-based business, having integrity and all of these things, and that you are living your values through your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it just makes even hard days much easier when you know that it's linked to what you want to see, like the change you want to see. It like things just get easier, really. Like there are no hard days when it comes to business. There are exhausting days, but none of them are hard.
They're not, because if you don't compromise on your values, you never have that real conflict.
Yeah.
So tell me about how your business has evolved, because obviously I've known you online for a really long time and I've seen changes in your business, but how has it evolved, and what were the signs that it was time to make change in your business?
So initially I started with multiple streams of ranges, and even to almost 2 different families of design, and they were basically playing to the strengths of the artisans. And so both the families were in Menorca, and I kind of, after about 6 months, I realized that one had better and more potential to grow versus the other one. And that's kind of how things evolved, really. And then I culled down because I had a little bit of a lot of things. And and even now, so I do a lot of story polls on Instagram. And even now when I do a story poll and I say earrings or rings, people will pick earrings, but my sales records say the opposite. and I sell a lot of rings. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to make more of what people want to buy. And so it's been a lot of data-based evolution and see what everyone's liking, what my ideal audience likes, and then working towards that, really. Versus, I feel like I'm a very atypical designer, to be honest.
Me too. I'm
It's not I
I'm
will
gonna
make
design
this
a logo.
and you shall wear it.
Yes.
Right?
It's
not gonna
beautiful,
work.
but also I'm going to
magnificent.
check my Google Analytics. We're just geeking out over here.
But I think for me, that's always been a big part of the evolution. I look at the data. I see what people want. I talk to my community regularly, and they are always happy to share. Sometimes it hurts, but mostly it's nice things.
Mostly. So, actually, we didn't talk about that. Tell us about your product and how it's sourced and the process, because it's really interesting. Because as you said earlier, we're not exposed to the process generally.
Yeah.
Where things come from, we just go into a shop and buy them. So tell us.
So when I started, I was trying to figure out the right kind of stone, really. And initially I wanted it to be your atypical, like semi-precious kind of stone, like the rose quartz and the
Amethyst
crystals,
and the lapis.
yeah. But the more I dug, the more I realized that there was no certainty on figuring out how those crystals were sourced.
Mm-hmm.
So I could potentially go to someone in India to buy a rose quartz, because that's one of the mining fields for rose quartz. I could potentially go there and say, I want this grade of rose quartz. And I would say that I want to make sure that it's mined ethically. But it means nothing.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
And there are some countries which have specific certifications. India is one of those. And so one of the flags to look for is fair trade warnings. And so if a company is associated with fair trading and they have the certification for it, it's a legit process. But for you to be a part of that and make sure that it was actually sourced without any damage, without child labor, without, overtime, they're getting fair wage, all of that, it was next to impossible. And because it was a big part of how I wanted to do things, I couldn't let things slip when it went to sourcing raw materials.
Yeah, fair call.
And so I kind of landed on Swarovskis, which are also known as ecostones. So they're known as ecostones because their carbon composition is super low. And so the way they are made in sync with the environment, with people, with sustainability. And they are not perfect. I'm not saying that they are perfect, but they work on being ethical and sustainable and fair trade and fair work and all of that. They work on that regularly. They release reports regularly. They're open about their whole structure. And so it is kind of easy for me to just say, that's where I'm going to go.
It's a transparent process.
Yeah, it's a very transparent process. And then one of the biggest reasons I went to Menorca is that they are historically I'm forgetting the name, but they are deemed as historical islands. So you cannot create without sustainability on the island. It is a rule of the land. So pretty much anything that comes off from the islands of Menorca has to follow that format. And so for me to say, I'm going to do it there, I know that the whole island works towards that. I know that the government regulates it. So it's not something that I was making up. But also my makers have their right certifications in place, and they update them every 2 years. They send me the certificates every 2 years to make sure that I have them. We use a mix of recycled and new metals. And the reason for new metals is that we need them for stability. because recycled metals would just break faster. And so all of that is sourced locally. All of that is obtained locally. And so we try and centralize everything when it comes to manufacturing. But then I kind of take it 5 steps ahead to the packaging. and so all of the packaging is recyclable, including the tape that I use on top. That's a biodegradable tape, so you can strip it off and throw it in your bin and it'll degrade. So I think that it's important to not just be superficial about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And just actually work on making things better. Like, you have to work on it every single day.
You've got it.
And
when they're your values, you've got to embody them, otherwise you can't sleep at night. And it's not just so my product's ethically sourced, but my packaging, which is I really pay attention to as a consumer, because like I can buy some eco-friendly shampoo that's like low sulfate, blah blah blah, but it comes in a whopping great plastic bottle. I'm like, okay, where did the plastics come from? It comes in a one of those plastic bags from Ozpost, and I'm like, you have to embody your values, because as consumers we're willing to pay a premium for that, but we expect it end to end, and you totally do that.
But I think the other thing to look at is that in terms of costs, doing things the right way is not always more expensive. It's just deemed to be more expensive. It's just that's the and I agree about that. I got a dress the other day from a pretty well-known brand. It was in one of those biodegradable bags, and I was like, oh, that's very impressive. I opened it and it was sitting inside a plastic bag inside the biodegradable bag, and I was like, you just outdid yourself, man. Like, I don't know why you would do that.
Oh my God.
And I think with things like apparel and even the way the jewelry is transported for us, we use biodegradable little cellulite bags, and that's what we use. So yes, I do pay a little bit extra for them to do that versus put it in standard plastic and send it. But it's fine. I mean, it's not going to go to trash. I know it's not going to go to trash. So I know where it's going. I know that if I have to circulate that as PR samples, then I can just put it back in those little biodegradable bags, and some of them will shred away, and that's fine too.
And it is.
Yeah. And I think that it doesn't necessarily cost that much. It's just that we don't think about it. Very often we don't think about it.
And you've got to structure your pricing so that it's not a crucial issue.
Yeah, of course. So right now my boxes are going inside a second box because Australia Post has changed their pricing structure.
Don't get anyone who's in e-commerce.
Use one of our small boxes or use a plastic bag. And so my box is smaller than their small box. So I've been putting my small box inside their box and sending that off. Because right now that's the only thing I can do, really.
There's so many e-commerce people.
I know that their new boxes are all like made from recycled materials and they're recyclable. So I was like, okay, that's a good box. Like, it's not pretty, but it's a good box. The box that goes inside it is also a recyclable box, but I can't really line my tissue in their box because it looks butt ugly. And so I have to kind of, and it's still a stickler in my head because I'm like, I'm paying more for sending a smaller box if I choose to send it. And it's not like 20 cents. For most packages, it's up to $3, which adds up to a lot of money over the year. And it's not something I can sustain. So I'd rather spend another 40 cents on their box and say, I'm just going to put my box inside their box.
And they're both happy boxes.
And they're good boxes.
They're good boxes. They're good boxes.
You can reuse them if you want to. And I think that you have to, I don't think that we're in a time and a space where these things should be ignored.
No. I agree.
I think that that we're in a time and space that we have to kind of do away with the non-essentials. And that was, for me, in packaging, the biggest decision was, do I put the jewelry in a box or do I put the jewelry in a bag? And it was very easy for me to decide to put it in a bag, because every time I bought jewelry, it's been in a box. I have thrown the box away. That box has no use. The velveteen inside it is all polyester. It's never like, or satin or whatever it is. It's all polyester. It's a no good box. But with the bag, it's made with GOTS certified organic cotton. And so when you actually leave your jewelry inside it, it cleans your jewelry for you. You don't have to do anything.
It's a doubly good bag.
I'm like, okay. And so with the bag, I've just now been working on resizing it, making it slightly sturdier, and just the micro details of it. But it was a very easy decision. And I think that we do live in a time where we need to think about these things. We need to think about the fact that, do we really need to send an invoice with every order? We don't. We throw it. We always throw it.
I don't even look at them.
And you get them in email anyway.
Yeah. I don't need a paper invoice.
I mean, most people that do anything, most people that buy from me, at least, have an online presence, because that's where they found me.
Yeah.
Basically. And they are probably paying their bills online. They don't get paper bills anymore. No. So there's no reason for me to send them an invoice.
No, we don't need
one.
And
every time I get an invoice, I'm like, why? What do I do with this? What do you want me to do with this?
Recycling bin.
I get it if there's like return forms and stuff like that, but other than that, I just feel that as a community, we could be doing better.
Yeah. And it's all those micro decisions that add up.
Yeah, always.
So with your two micro humans, I can't speak today.
Micro humans.
Too many humans. How do you, and living in the city of Sydney, which is admirable, how do you manage your life as an entrepreneur?
It's kind of, so my son's only 18 months.
Ooh.
And my daughter's 8 years. So she's off to school.
Yay.
She's very self-contained. She's very walk inside the door, who dat? And she walks away. But with my son, he goes to daycare. He started going to daycare 3 days of the week recently. It was 2 days, and he's still going through his initial 6 months of, we get bugs every 2 weeks.
Oh, I remember those days.
So we don't go to daycare every 2 weeks. But that, for me, that holds a lot of the space. So when they're off, that's when I focus on work, the business, all of that. Outside of that, I automate a lot. Like all my emails are automated. I've handed over my social media to somebody else to manage at the beginning of March. And I just think that I've set up systems so that I'm not failing. And even if I do just the essentials and that's all I can do, things keep moving. I have someone who comes and assists me for packing once a week. So I only really pack orders twice a week. And if you miss that, you miss that. And my logic to that is, I'm not saving anybody's life. So you can wait.
It's weird, this, I want it overnight. Okay.
Yeah. I do get the odd special request and say, hey, I need it for a wedding in 2 days. I'll express post, blah, blah, blah. And I will do that for people. But outside of that, I'm very clear. And the reasons for setting up these boundaries is to keep my sanity. I don't want to stay up till 2:00 every night packing orders. I don't want to do it. I can't do it. It's not sustainable. And so there's a lot of boundary setting. It didn't happen for the first 1.5 years because I used to work like a slog. But I think I've just gotten a bit, I won't say smarter. I'm going to say I want to sleep a little bit.
Boundaries are crucial. Like I'm I am dead solid on my boundaries, and my clients know that.
Yeah.
So even to the point, I got a message this morning and go, "Hi, I'm really sorry to bother you." And I'm like, no, it's all right. You can message me. It's fine.
Well, I think that's the thing. It was initially 1 to 3 days, and I was killing myself packing orders.
Yeah.
And I had to draw a line. And I think that's something that COVID actually helped with. Because it happened more often than not last year that I went up to the post office and the post office was shut.
Yes.
So their front office is shut. So I go to their sorting center. It's not far. I go there because I know it goes straight into the system. I'm not waiting till the end of the day for them to upload it. And so it's quicker out. And their front office used to be shut. And I was like, okay, I'm within my 2 days, but the front office is shut. So what do I do now? And so I shifted that timeline. And I kind of realized that that's okay. Like, it's dispatched twice a week. I know what days it's going to be dispatched. And there are boundaries around that. And it just had to be done, really.
And as you know, people, I say to people, well, I don't say it to people, but your urgency isn't my emergency. Just because you've decided that it's urgent doesn't mean it is for me. I'm sorry, but if you really needed it, be more organized.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to put my life on hold because you've made a poor decision.
I just think the whole culture of instant gratification is just, it's gotten
ridiculous.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
So the whole expectation that you buy something, it gets express posted, so you get it the next morning, so you can feel happy about it, and then row about how amazing the customer service is. It's just very ill-found.
It's not realistic, and it's not respectful of the human on the other end.
No. And this is true even for big teams, big corporations, where they have enough people. I think it's just unnecessary pressure for unnecessary things, really. I mean, Chemist Warehouse takes a week to deliver. Do you know that?
No.
Sometimes they don't even start packing for a week, and you've ordered medicines, and you're like, my medicines are going to finish.
I need my medicine.
I know,
my
it's
gosh.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Where if you call the doctor's hotline here, even they call you back in 6 hours. They don't care.
No.
Like, they've got a line, they're working through it.
Yeah, you're not an emergency.
If you're an emergency, you go to emergency.
Go to emergency. Call an ambulance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that you have to set and then respect boundaries, and people wait. They're not in a hurry.
Well, reasonable people are happy to wait.
Yeah.
Unreasonable people will go and trash you on social media and leave you horrible reviews.
I don't get too many of those.
No, touch wood.
No, touch wood. I've got a few nasty ones in emails, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't claim that ever. So someone said, someone bought a ring for like $60 or something, and it was on sale, and so she only paid about $50, and she got the ring and she complained about it, and she said, I thought it was silver. I can buy silver for that. So I'm like, of course you can buy silver for that. And then I sent her a whole story about what kind of silver you can buy for that. And I also told her, I said, I don't claim this on my website. Here's a link to the product. This is what it is. It tells you what the base material is. It tells you what the plating is, to the point of how many microns it's been plated with. And so you don't tell me I haven't mentioned it, because it's all over the place. It's like, I literally couldn't say it anymore.
Yeah, it's like how to deal with bad reviews is answer logically. And
I never heard back from her again. She didn't leave me a bad review, but she just went missing.
Yeah, MIA. Don't leave people bad reviews because you're... anyway. So what does a great day in the office look like for you?
Ooh, when I get a lot of things done. That's easy.
Very few and far between.
No, for me, a great day would mean that my order history is clear, and I have nothing else left to pack and send, to be honest. I learned in the first 1.5 years to manage supplier timelines, so I'm not scrumming to the last minute, because like everything, even postal services things get delayed, and so we have very generous production timelines. So the last time I placed an order was January, and it's about to land in the next 5 days or something like that. And most manufacturers have a 3-week turnaround. We have a 6-week turnaround, and it's because Spain goes on holiday very often. And I can't say, oh, sorry.
Spain does.
Oh, sorry. You have to work through your holidays.
Yeah.
And they take the month of August off. And so I have to work
I'm moving to
backwards
Spain.
I know, so good.
My mum used to live there.
And so I think a good day to me would look like that there are no stress points, really. Like there are things that happen on repeat. A lot of it happens on repeat. And I'm very fortunate to have people that like the people that I work with. I'm very fortunate that they kind of have the same ethics. They're respectful. They don't scrounge around. They're very open. The social media team that I'm working with is relatively new, so I literally had a conversation the other day. I was like, you know what, like, I'm not a mind reader. If you guys want me to make a video of something, you just need to tell me. Like, we're on that chat 24/7, but all you need to do is, hey, we need a video of this, can you please make it and send it to us by X date? I said, don't expect I'm going to do it in 2 hours, because it's not going to happen. But if you give me 24-hour notice and say, we want a video on blah, 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 I'm going to do it for you. But you should feel comfortable enough to say that that's what you need, and that's what fits in with where we're heading in the next month. And so I think that communication has been a really big thing for pretty much everyone I work with, whether it's those guys, whether it's the photographer. My photographer leaves me voice notes. Which is amazing. So it's always that, and she's Brazilian, and so she has the most beautiful accent, and she leaves me these amazing voice notes with "Hello, lovely,"
and you're like,
I was like, oh, she's so sweet.
It's amazing how, like, communicating with people. I love voice notes.
Yeah.
Or sending people little videos. Hey, it's me.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah, and they're like, oh my God, like, it's like you're in the room.
Yeah.
People feel really special. Like, it's just the same as an email, but quicker.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think a good day is literally when nothing's gone wrong, really. And the last 3 and something years that I've had Bidiliia, I've worked tirelessly to make sure that I'm not scrambling at the last second. And for me, really, social media was the last thing that did that. And I kind of said, okay, you take it. I'm not going to do this anymore. But I think that's an ideal day. And I also have to respect that I have 2 kids. And they fall sick without a schedule. And so I have to know that things will still keep going on. So really, I think any day that I get to work for 3 hours continuously is a great day.
It's a great day. This is my happy place. Just don't interrupt me. So what tools do you use, like productivity tools, if you use any, communication?
I use Asana. I'm testing out Discord because someone showed me how it actually works, and it's bloody brilliant. It's so good. And I was like, why is this not like more popular?
Marketing.
Because it's set up as a student tool. But it's everything you want it to be in the most perfect communication tool.
Oh, don't tell me that. I've just changed the ClickUp.
Oh, so Discord, what you can do with Discord is, so these are the things I love, like the 3 things that I love. You can search for a specific image in a specific chat based on who sent it, the date, or what it might look like. And so you can search for images. My chats are full of images. And often I'm like scrolling through like, oh my God, where was that picture, right? The second most amazing thing about Discord is that you can pin specific dialogues, and you can pin up to 15 dialogues in one conversation. So if I'm using it for my social media people, then we literally go like, these are the posts for the week, and we pin those up, and we're done with the week. We just unpin and we start from scratch. So every time I'm looking at, oh yeah, what was supposed to go on Thursday, I'm not thinking about it. It's already pinned. I just need to go in and look.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to transfer big chunks of it to Discord because it's amazing. But other than that, I'm a big Asana user. Even now, even though people have gone from Asana to Monday to ClickUp to everything else, I'm like, Asana.
People, they're still like, I ask this question on every single podcast, and still most people say Asana. But I just I never got into Asana. It was never my jam.
I use Asana, and then depends on who I'm working with. So I work with the web developer. She uses Trello, so I just use her board.
I don't like Trello.
With Trello, as long as I'm not setting it up, I don't mind.
As long as I don't have to.
If it's someone else's board and I'm like, yeah, I can see where I need to add information, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I don't jam with Trello, but that's just me. That's fine. It's fine. So one of the things that affects every single entrepreneur, not every single, most, I know, is imposter syndrome. So what are your methods to overcome and respond to the bad days in business?
So this is really interesting because with the jewelry brand, I don't think I have imposter syndrome.
Well, I suppose you.
But I'm also trying to step into
design.
No.
You own it, babes.
No, I have a book. I have a big fat art book. I design at will. And a lot of it never sees the day of light because it's at like 1 o'clock at night, and I was like, what was I thinking?
I'm just doing a sketchy
what's wrong with me? And so a lot of it is on scraps of paper. And someone spoke to me about this recently and said, we didn't know you design. I was like, yeah, but most of the good stuff is always on a scrappy piece of paper, and I would never share that. Like, it's literally like, oh, do I have something here? Oh, look, see? Can you see that design?
Yeah.
That's how
on
I
an
design.
Australia Post notepad.
I know. Like, would I share that on social media? I think not.
In biro.
But it's getting sampled nonetheless.
Yeah.
So I took a picture. I scanned it so the lines stand out properly. And luckily, the people that I work with understand what I've drawn. So I went from having formal CAD drawings initially with like, this goes here and this is the link to this and this is what we need to do, to literally sending them drawings like that, saying, hey, can we do this?
Can you make this? That'll be great.
Can you make that? And it's actually got more information than
it's about yay high.
So it has measurements. It has like 16 and 17. Yeah. It's got measurements.
Very specific.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
And then when I send them that, I'll literally be like, oh, those are the kind of links that you need. It's a stud. That's the closure. They get it.
It's fine. It works.
It works. So I don't think I've ever had that. But that said, I'm trying my hand at copywriting recently. So I don't have a website. I just spoke about it a couple of times, and I ended up getting jobs really for copywriting. And so
because you weren't busy enough.
That's where my imposter syndrome kicks in. But because again, because what I do with copywriting is very specific to what I've been doing for the last 3 years. I just shake it off. I also work at very odd hours, so I don't give myself time to think about it. Really. I also think imposter syndrome is a luxury. It's when you have too much time.
Oh no.
And then you start doing something, and then you're like, oh no, what if I can't do this? Whereas like, who's got time when you're drawing like that?
I still feel sick every time I send an email to my email list. But anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I'm working through it.
No. So I send an email every Thursday, and most Thursdays it's written 20 minutes before it goes. And most Thursdays I will never reread it, and the reason for that is because I don't have the time to reread it.
Or maybe I'm going to start doing
then,
the Anu method. Just
and
write
then
the damn thing.
if I reread it, I'll be like, oh no, that's not right. Oh no, I read too much into it then. And then so I just type. I make sure there's no like massive spelling errors. So I run it through like a
Grammarly.
No, not Grammarly.
Hemingway.
I put it in a Word doc, and then I put it on Hemingway to make sure that it's split up, and that's it.
I'm
literally hit send.
Start adopting the Anu method. Type and send.
And I have made massive errors in emails, like literally write do versus don't in places where it shouldn't. But like my email open rates are great, and I wouldn't stop doing it. Really, like there's no reason to. So I think with jewelry, I don't have that. I really think I don't think I can say I've got imposter syndrome when it comes to jewelry. Initially someone sent me a message saying that they are not your designs, blah 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 blah, and for the first year and something, 50% of my website was a curation, and 50% was original designs. And even to date, my homepage says that it's a mix of curation and design, because till the time I have trickles of curated design, even from old stock. I can't claim that I'm 100% behind this.
But you don't. So people
No, I don't.
Exactly.
I don't. And when somebody sent me that message, I literally send them a link saying, it says designed and curated. What did you read? And I think the whole thing really comes back to, see, like when you go back to your ethics, if you're doing what you do and it's in sync with where you want to be, then I don't think you let it get the better of you very often.
No, not very often. In the early days, shocking. But now I'm like, haters gonna hate. So how do you maintain your sense of community?
Ooh, this is a really good one. I have a very small Facebook group of paying customers. It's only recently that I realized that those emails were on Smart Send, so a whole bunch of people have not got those emails. And so I might send an email blast saying, hey, you should join because you're a paying customer. And I have that. And I think it's a small group that I have been absent in for the last 5 months, maybe. I only go in once every 2 weeks and do a hey, what's up kind of thing. But that community is not, for the most, it's not based on jewelry. It's based on conversation. It's based on connecting with people. And it's based on having conversations. Some of them really difficult. Like we had this massive conversation around International Women's Day in that community. And I literally went in and I said, this year it feels fake. And that's it. Like these are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? And it was like opening Pandora's box. And everyone, like there was so many people who commented saying, we agree, the theme was hijacked and most people don't even know about it and all the details. And I was like, okay, like it's not me. And I think that very often, especially as a solo business owner, it's very easy for me to get into this frame of mind where I think I'm doing this all alone. I'm in this alone. And I'm not. And like that group of 120-ish people is a very active group of people. I don't even have to post regularly. I don't have to do anything. There are there will be posts at 2 a.m. over there from someone else with sweaty hair, wearing nice earrings. Hey, look, I went to this event and I was and that's the kind of stuff I get at 2 a.m. I was like, come on, man, you could have sent me a picture at the top of the evening. Like, what are you doing? What do I do with this?
I can't put that on my stories.
I can't put that on social media. What you talking about? But I think that's that sense of community, and I think it reverberates in pretty much everything. I treat like main social media channels with a pinch of salt. I get a lot of DMs. A lot of the times they'll end up being long conversations. And I get a lot of messages on Facebook. So I try and respond personally. I tried doing the whole chatbot thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, no. This is good for competitions, but oh man, no, this is terrible.
No.
And so I stopped doing that. I now, so with generic stuff, the marketing team responds. I don't. The social media guys respond. I don't. But I think the whole community thing is very much from that little group on Facebook. And it's a very good reminder that you're not alone. And everyone's going through the same crap. And we can all talk about it if that's what we want to talk about.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it, really.
Awesome. I love a good Facebook group.
Yeah.
So what's your why? What keeps you motivated in your business?
Kindness, really. I know I talk about it all the time, but approaching things, people, what you make, how you do it, everything with a little bit of kindness, really. Like, that's what keeps me going, really. That's always been the core of what I do, why I do it, why I would want to keep doing it, even though I'm like, oh God, why did I start a product-based business? I get those days, because there's so many, there are so many things that you need to be able to control. It's not just you and your deadline. You're relying on a whole bunch of people to make sure that this thing shows up on a website. But it's always kindness. It's like, and again, it goes back to, I'm not saving anyone's life. And if I don't release something on the 1st of May, only I know about it. Nobody else knows about it. And even if I've been making a big hoo-ha about it on social media, I can literally go in and say, oops,
sorry,
my kid had a bad night. Won't happen.
Yeah. It's fine.
And so it's fine. Like, someone mentioned this thing the other day of, do you know how like people go off social media and they come back and they make this huge hoo-ha about, ooh, I'm back, da da da. And then most people go like, oh, we didn't even realize you were gone.
Oh yes.
And that's literally it. That you have to, nobody's gonna miss anything. So you rushing, you being hasty or being unkind or putting extra pressure on somebody else to do something else or yourself to do something you don't need to.
No.
And so that whole thing of kindness is not just how I deal with my suppliers and whoever does anything for me. It's also to myself to say that, oh, if I miss a deadline, it's fine. Only I know about it. Nobody else knows about it.
No.
If I don't get the money on that day by selling X products, I'll make it the next day. Like the people that are gonna buy are not gonna say, oh, she didn't do it on the 1st, so we're not gonna buy it on the 2nd.
Yeah. I love that approach. It's Perfect. So what are your top tips then, apart from being kind, for all the smart women and men in business across Australia and the world? Because this audience is getting bigger, and I'm going to rebrand, I think, this podcast, because it ain't working for my audience anymore.
I think my biggest tips would be that you just need to be nicer to yourself. Like, I think we need to work smarter, not harder. I think unless you're in a medical profession, you then have the permission to do things differently, to do things slower. But I also my biggest thing is always, if it doesn't sit well with you, if your gut says no, then don't do it, because it's going to hurt you. Maybe not now, but 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, it's going to get to you, and then you're going to feel sick about it, and you're not going to want to do it. And that's one of the main reasons I feel that people crash, because it never sat well with them, and they still did it, even though they were. This is not like, there's exciting discomfort and there's like gut discomfort. You shouldn't ignore gut discomfort, but you should ignore exciting discomfort, because that's just growth. And I think that you just have to kind of be true to yourself, really. Like, unless you're a murderer and a horrible person, then don't do that. But I think
don't do the bad things, but if you're in
don't
business,
do the bad things.
Stop it. Stop being
mean
to yourself.
If you're a nasty human, then there's no saving you, really. but I think most people come from a really good place, and their reasons are different, their needs are different, and you recognize that your needs are different, and your and where you want to be is different, but you can still do things well without hurting yourself or hurting someone else, or just being destructive. But you do that, right?
Yeah,
like,
you live your values.
Show people how to work smarter, not harder.
And it doesn't have to be the hustle.
That's a Jane McKay thing. It's not the me thing.
I'm a low-key achiever. I know, it's about, you don't have to be hustling your butt off. And it's not a badge of honor, because you will ultimately hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And there are ways and means to make a lot of money without, more work doesn't mean more money.
No, it doesn't.
Out of that culture. But
yeah.
Yes. I 100% agree. So, my love, tell me how people out there in the world can find you on the grand tour that is the interwebs.
Oh, so I am on Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest, even though not many people are using that.
Oh, Pinterest.
And it's all with Bidiliia, so it's Bidillia. My website's also bidiliia.com, and that's where you'll find me.
Awesome. Thank you for your chat today, Anu. I look forward to seeing you around the internet.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Women in Business podcast. If you'd like access to the show notes, please visit my website, janemackaycommunications.com.au/blog. If you've enjoyed this episode and would like to hear more, please don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, keep on being a smart woman in business.